The most important person in the whole wide world is you, and you hardly even know you. The most important person in the whole wide world is you. Come on, we'll show you. Let's find out more about the things you feel and do, 'cause you're the most important person in the world to you.
The world to you. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to One for All is Love with Sonya Spirit, and I am Sonya Spirit. Happy Hump Day. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. And I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but the weather was gorgeous here today in Georgia, where it is normally inhumanely humid in June. We had a low of, I don't know, about 66, and even right now it's like a balmy, 70, 72. Anyway, so yeah, I'm enjoying the weather. All right, so the title of this show is Intentional Thinking, and what does this mean? All we're ever going to talk about is the mind? Yes. Yes. Because it is one of the tools that help you create your reality. So yes, you have to understand about the mind. You have to understand about what we are, how we create, what that process is like, what that involves, what issues we have. How can we correct these issues? This is what this is all about. We have a life that we don't appreciate, we don't want, and we're under the impression that we didn't ask for. However, I beg to differ, and that applies to myself as well. And believe me, I'm not, I appreciate my life. Don't get it wrong. I appreciate my life. I am thankful. I'm appreciative because I know how good God has been to me. But I also know that what I want and what I see are not the same thing. So anyway, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, if I wish to experience a healthier, peaceful, harmonious life, it doesn't just happen. I make it happen. I. As in the capital letter I, as in I, me, as in I am, as in be still and know that I am. Okay. So I make it happen with my thoughts, words, feelings, and actions. So in 2005, the National Science Foundation published an article summarizing research on human thoughts per day. It was found that the average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And of those thousands of thoughts, 80% were negative. Okay, now I've read another story and it was 70%, but you get the point. The bulk of it is. So between 70 and 80% were negative, and 95% were exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. Okay, so we always want to know, look, this is not the life I manifest, and I'm telling you that it is. And this is one way of you being able to identify how it is that you manifest the life that you have. Because I am almost certain that you cannot pin down what those 60,000 thoughts are of, okay? And of that, let's say 70%, okay? 70% of the 60,000, was that 420? So 42,000 thoughts, 42,000 of the 60,000 thoughts are negative. And of the 60, and let's say, okay, of these 420, let's say, and 95% are repetitive from the day before. Okay, so, I'm just going to round here. So let's say 40,000 of the 60,000 thoughts are negative, and they're from the day before. So we are, we're programming our subconscious, but okay. So in this episode, I will discuss how intentional thinking leads to mind management, which leads to intentional feeling, resulting in intentional living or living by design. So yes, your own design. So, basically design your own life, live by design. Even if your will is to submit to God for the betterment of all. Okay. Which, that is what some people want to do, I being one of them. All right. So, but just so we can understand how this works. So we have, we're going to say roughly 40 of the 60,000 thoughts are negative and repetitive from the day before. Okay. And of course, I posted a beautiful 15-minute video. It's interesting. You meditate on these things. Universe gives you a thought, a direction, a subject, a topic, whatever. And then all kinds of information and material just kind of opens itself up to you. But, okay, so on the Facebook One4ALLisLove page, posted on that page, not on my personal page of Sonya Spirit. But on that page, I posted a video, and it's very, very beautifully done. It's called How to Create Heaven on Earth. It's a 15-minute video. Bruce Lipton is narrating it, but there is an artist who is drawing out all of the concepts, and it is so beautiful and animated. And it's a great video because everything that, basically I teach and others as well. It's not like I have the market corner on this because, I'm in search of answers. Bruce Lipton, it is captured so beautifully on this video. Like I said, it's on YouTube. It's called Heaven on Earth. And the name of the group is, or the page of is After School. That's the name of it, After School. Okay, but it was also another one too, but I won't belabor that. But the point is that, so, there's a visual aid, but he talks about how to reprogram the subconscious, which we are all aware of, basically through hypnosis or repetition. Okay. Now, what was interesting, what I did find interesting, and of course it provided more context, is, I was saying how, our subconscious is programmed, and, if it resists, if it counters our thought, if it doesn't support, a thought, then it won't manifest into reality. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not so good. It just depends. Now, the subconscious doesn't judge. It does what it's supposed to do. It attracts the necessary energy and it transforms it and manifests it into into physical reality. Now, what was interesting is how Bruce Lipton spoke on, and of course, I trust his judgment, and I'm a little bit familiar with the field of study, although I am not a scientist or a medical doctor, but the subconscious, the program of the subconscious is actually stored in the DNA. So as far as, which makes sense because when people ask me about generational curses, do I believe in them? And it's not a matter of believing in them or not. I just say, you do carry around your family's history in your DNA. Your DNA is everything. It's your future, it's your present, it's your past. It's your past generations. It's if you are in a position where you are fertile, it's your future generations. And the fact that you're here answers the present question. So it's not a matter of believing in generational curses. It's just a matter of we being everything in one. Like it's always being said that we have everything in us. We have everything in us. Okay. So anyway, the video is really good. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it because, it's concise, but it's concise. It's to the point. And it's also, like I said, animated. So it's very visual. The imaging is important because part of intentional thinking, is, you have to pay attention. So, it starts by thinking on purpose, thinking by design. Academy of Ideas is the other website that was bothering me. Okay. So after school, and school is SKOOL, and the other page was Academy of Ideas. They had some great videos too. And they get a lot into the philosophy end of it, or the philosophical end of it. But after school is great because it's really animated, beautiful. But like I said, it's concise and it's a variety. And at the end of the day, as Bruce Lipton was saying, it's in order to reprogram your subconscious, you have to. It's either hypnosis or repetition, and you can do both. Even with the hypnosis, what you can do is you can write your own script. You can write one from scratch. You can find a template or a model, an example to use off the internet, and then tweak it to your satisfaction. You can download a recording app on your cell phone, record yourself, and then you can play it in the morning or you can play it in the evening before bed, whatever the intention is of what you want to work on, or both, as often as possible, because it's the whole repetition thing, the more often you repeat it, the quicker it'll sink in, okay? And so that's what it's all about. So the intentional thinking. So what I've read a few articles, and there's different ways of approaching it, but the most simplistic is start out by paying attention to what you think, and keep a notepad or use the note section on your cell phone and jot down any negative thoughts that you have. And the reason why we want to bring those to mind, because we want to begin capturing those and then releasing them. When I say capture, it's almost just like freezing them so that we pay attention that this is a thought that we've entertained, but then we want to release it so that it can keep on going about its way. And when you build this list, you want to address, like, the type of thoughts that they are. Are these thoughts about love, about money, about friendship, about trust? Yes, to a degree you are healing yourself, but, this can be done. You can do it. Now, if you want to pay someone, that's fine too. Or, if you have insurance. But, you have everything that you need to heal yourself. The biggest challenge often is discipline, okay? Like, knowledge is, like I say all the time to my sons, knowledge is half the battle, okay? Acquiring knowledge is half the battle. The other half is application. What are you going to do with this knowledge? And oftentimes we accumulate knowledge, and we have all this knowledge, but we don't act on it. We don't apply it. We don't use it. So we are educated dummies. So it's the action. We got to get the action going. Okay. So with intentional thinking, we can take the most simplistic thing. If you want your own house, you can think about what type of house do you want. And now, I'll say, don't worry about things, I might not qualify for a loan. Don't concern yourself with that. And the reason I say don't concern yourself with that, because first of all, you don't want anything getting in the way of you just completely exploring your imagination. And if you're sitting around wondering about how something can happen, you can't see how it happens. Of course you can't see how it happens. That's why we're leaning on God. If you could see how it could happen, then you wouldn't need God. You wouldn't want God. You wouldn't have a need to have God in your life. Okay? And I'm not saying we're using God for material things, but just work with me here, okay? If you knew how, then that's why they said that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven, because the tendency is not to lean on God. If you don't have a need or a want, an unfulfilled need or want, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to turn to God. Now, I'm not saying that applies to everyone because each path is different, but what I'm saying is more than likely. Okay, now let's continue to move forward. So, somehow I got sidetracked, but we're basically it boils. So you want the house. Don't concern yourself with the how. Okay, that's not what's important. Now, and I say that, but listen, don't. First of all, I need to stop using the word "don't," because this episode is really about communication, and I see myself getting sidetracked. Okay, so the intentional thinking, intentional feeling. Okay, amplified by words, intentional feeling, intentional experience. Okay, so life is just that. It's thought plus feeling equal experience. Okay, so subconscious, conscious plus subconscious equals manifestation. Chop it up any way you want to. Those are the ingredients. Okay, and I just lost my train of thought again. But the point is, we have to make a point to a purpose. So intentional thinking is thinking by design, thinking with a purpose, an intent, a goal, okay? So even before we get to the intentional thinking part, you want to take one day or, 1 hour, whatever block of time you can afford to set aside, but it would behoove you to do it. And just list, like I said, all negative thoughts that come to mind for whatever duration you select. And you want to write these down. Now, that part is important, whether you write it down or type it into your notes section on your phone, whatever, but document it somewhere because you want to revisit these. Okay? Because these are the things that you want to that you want to change. You want to remove from your life, okay? So list every negative thought that you have, including your fears, your insecurities, your losses, things that stress you out regularly, and things that irritate you, other people that irritate you, or things about other people that irritate you. So make a list, okay? And then we're going to make a second list or a column to the first list, a second column to the first list, if it is all possible. And for each and every negative thought, write at least one positive thought. Let's see. So, for example, you may have a fear of failure. Now, this is generic and broad, but like the positive is, if you, and I'm not sure this is positive, but if you don't try, you're certain, you're guaranteed not to succeed. But for every negative thought, write at least one positive thought. So, you may feel like, I don't really want to be bothered with people. Or you could say, I'm aloof, and you might look at that as negatively. Well, the positive is, I'm not aloof. I'm introspective. Okay, so while you may come across or be presented as someone who's standoffish, that may not necessarily be the case. That's just an interpretation. So a positive thought is, introspective. Okay, so for every negative, write at least one positive. And so, like, if you're insecure about your skills, then and I'm sure there are some skills you might be insecure about, but there are also something about yourself that you really like, that you really appreciate. I'm glad I'm this way. write that down. Okay? So, if you lost a relationship in the past, or if it's about work or coworkers, whatever it is, if it's about a coworker that you don't like, see if you can find one quality about that coworker or that family member. Because I don't want to say friend, because if they're a friend, that's optional. But but find one quality about that coworker or family member that you do like or appreciate about them. And then practice shifting perspectives, because that's what it takes. It takes practice. So what you're doing is, or what we're doing is, every time we catch ourselves in a negative thought, and it'll take this exercise once on paper just to help you bear this in mind. Be mindful of negative thoughts. And when you find yourself entertaining negative thoughts, then you know what to do in terms of transitioning it into a positive thought. Excuse me. So, sometimes if I can't think of a positive thought fast enough, I'll just latch onto my, I call them my safe words. Faith, love, trust. Not trust. Faith, love, truth, wisdom, harmony. So those are my safe words. And I just kind of repeat those over and over again, depending on what I need. If it's strength, faith, love. So it just depends on whatever I need. But the point of the exercise is to practice. You have to practice changing the way we think. And we also need to practice. Another message I received this week was, we have to change the way we communicate, okay? So, of course, words amplify our thoughts, or they concretize our thoughts. So we need to change the way we communicate. So something that I do as an exercise is, like when I'm reading articles, or I usually do it when I'm reading books or articles, but I'll read it and I'll look to see how it's written. Does it use negative connotations? How is this language being expressed? And oftentimes, more often than not, most of the material that I read does not entertain. See, do not entertain. I'm still doing it, because I'm going to have to work at it. But most material that I read, I'm trying to not speak this way, write in a more affirmative manner, without any negative connotations or the usage of contractions. And I thought that was interesting, that people can write a certain way. I mean, I know people write and speak differently, but I didn't realize it was such a contrast oftentimes. So that's something else to be mindful of. And if you do a lot of writing, challenge yourself to write in the affirmative, not using any contractions or negative language, if at all possible. Because what that does is it helps you to focus. I mean, and this is what it's all about. We have to pay attention. We have to change the way we communicate. And now is the time to do it. I didn't fully understand it before because, I just didn't. And that's okay. But I realized that now is the time. All the activity that's taken place, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the George Floyd thing. I may have been speaking about it on a sister radio station and program. And we were and they were saying, what makes now, and it's the timing. It's the timing. Things have changed. The energy is in a different position right now. The timing is right for us to change individually as well as collectively, and encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. And if you spend any time meditating or ruminating on it, it will make a whole lot of sense to you. Okay, so, but yes, we've got to change the way we communicate, we speak, think, the way we feel. So once again, getting back to intentional thinking. So, they're like intentional thinking. Some things that you want to do is you want to pause. You want to sit still. You want to be still. Just be. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm having some issues over here. Quiet, focused, disciplined, authoritative, and then submissive. So, with intentional thinking, the first thing we want to do is pay attention. Okay, I'm aware. What am I thinking about? What do I want to think about? This is almost like a thinking session. Now, and it's interesting because everything that I've been reading has been saying that, don't identify with, your thoughts. It's just another product of your being or process of your being. Okay, so that's fine. I can get down with that for now. Just don't get it. Our ego wants to be defined and it wants to be in charge. And once we recognize, listen, we're individuated souls, so we should be first off the rip. We are humble because we are God's creation. Okay, so we're humble for this opportunity, but we're also blessed for this opportunity. And it's so beautiful because we have the power to create, which is God's power, and the world is our playground. The earth is our playground. So through our faculties that operate really on a different dimension, our consciousness and our subconsciousness, so collectively, they operate on a different dimension, but once these two energies get together, are aligned, then they transform and manifest our physical reality. And that happens all the time. That happens. This is a law of the universe, like the law of physics, like the law of gravity. It is a law. It is happening whether you recognize it or not. So the law of correspondence, the law of polarity, of cause and effect, these are laws. The law of attraction, it is a law. If you don't know how to use it, then it's understandable that it doesn't appear to work. But, okay, so intentional thinking. Stop. What do you want to think about? What do you want? What is it that you wish to attract? Now, another interesting thing, like I was saying, and Bruce Lipton, and he was talking about how, our programming is in our DNA, which makes a whole lot of sense. And the beauty, of course, and it supports what I've been saying, is that easily reprogrammable. So no matter how horrible your childhood was, or whatever generational curses you think you have in you or on you as a means through your DNA, it doesn't matter. You have the power to change your position, your perspective, your reality. Okay? And that's the beauty. This is when you really, really, really can appreciate the genius of God. And I don't mean that, I'm saying this in the most humble way, but you can't really begin to fully comprehend. We look at our political system and how it's supposed to have checks and balances, and if it worked harmoniously like nature does, it probably would work perfectly. But now let's go step back a minute. Nature does work perfectly in harmony. Remember, we create whatever resistance we come into contact with, one way or another, either through some experience that we were the cause of, or through our thoughts and vibrations, we have attracted this experience to us. So, okay, either way. But okay, so I digress, and we're halfway through the show. But so getting back to intentional thinking, identify whatever it is that you wish to attract. Focus on one thing at a time, if at all possible. Just because the more you focus your energy, the more robust it is. So when you divert it in a lot of different areas, it's like multitasking. Nothing gets 100% of your effort or attention. Okay? And if you're trying to manifest your reality, doesn't something deserve your undivided attention? Okay. So whatever it is, if you want to start your own business, if you want a different job, if you want to live abroad, if you want the love of your life, if you want some great philanthropic project, whatever it is that you crave in your life, have a thought behind it. What is the thought? What is it that you want? And write it down, okay? And remember, the more universes will deliver, but the more descriptive you are, the longer it's going to take. And if you're okay with being patient, then don't worry about it. Okay, now what you want to do is associate the proper feelings. Okay, now I say proper, but what does that mean? Because if you want love, don't see. I'm saying don't. If you want love, identify the characteristics you wish to attract. See, I could do it. So let's identify what we do want versus what we wish not. Okay. So if you want someone who's kind and understanding, generous, witty, whatever the qualities and characteristics you want the person of, your energetic dreams, whoever you're trying to attract, use qualities, use characteristics. Don't use a person unless a person has a quality or characteristic that you want emulated, okay? Okay. Because if someone's not meant for you and they're given to you anyway, it's disharmonious, which means there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some clashing. And chances are, in the end, it's probably will be unsuccessful. And basically all you did was just prolong the agony. Okay. So intentional thinking, decide what you want, describe what you want. What does it look like? What does it feel like? If you want your own business, what kind of business? And is this a socially conscious business? Are we just looking to make profit? Do we have to exploit resources? Take this into consideration because, just to say you want a business, I mean, that may work too, but, you may want some sort of business that might have an impact on the environment. If you want to start your own cruise ship industry, I really won't support you because I have a problem with cruise ships and how they disrupt the ecosystem, particularly for underwater life. But you get what I'm saying. Okay. So be as graphic as you can. Now, once you identify what you want, you don't necessarily have to write out everything else. What you can do is allow your imagination to enjoy itself and explore options. Like, okay, my one thing is I want a bamboo farm. Okay, like I said, bamboo grows faster than trees. It doesn't adversely impact the community as the mass removal of trees does. It actually gives off more oxygen. It can be processed to be as soft as silk, or it can be used to construct housing. So there's a lot of utility for bamboo, and then of course I ruminate on, if I was filthy rich, I would build, of course, treehouse communities. That's probably more so for children, but treehouse communities as well as tiny house communities. But also, they have real estate is a term called planned urban development. So it's really a self-contained community, but they're not really. On a commercial level, yes, but not really. But because a true self-contained community would have its own farm, so to speak, its own market and schools and stuff like that. And that would, I would like to move in that direction because I feel like as far as living is concerned, living is a local experience, even though we're all on this planet together, we have to deal with our environment, keeping it safe, our climate, our ecology, so to speak, or our ecological environment. So I'm digressing. But anyway, so you think about but when you think about it, this is where these are not just thoughts and words. These are like pictures and images, and if you were having your own video camera, how do you imagine this to play out? I can see acres, hundreds of acres of bamboo, and I see this big bamboo processing plant, even though I have no idea what it looks like on the inside because I've never processed bamboo, but I know what a plant looks like. But I'm also hoping that it's a plant, not so much hoping, but it is a plant that doesn't, that is conducive, that is cooperative with the environment. So, I can't remember the amount of water, but there's a ridiculous amount of water that goes into farming almonds. So when I guess California was experiencing the drought, and they were telling people not to decreasing their usage of water. They kind of mentioned in passing about some of the nut farms that they have and how much water that these farms require. And I thought that was amazing. I'm a fan of fruits and nuts, but it's just amazing how much water that they require. But okay, so I digress. So what we want to do is use our imagination. So we want to pay attention. We want to get settled. We want to totally relax. Okay. We want to. So when we're totally relaxed, so we're paying attention. We're getting settled. We're totally relaxed. And we allow just our energy to flow all throughout our bodies. So I like to listen to sounds, so I listen to I mentioned different solfeggio sounds. The healing one is 528 or something. But I love listening to, and 639, but I love listening to the solfeggio sounds while I am just being, so to speak. And it just takes you somewhere else. The sounds, the music is, it's incredible. I don't do anything with words. And they have so many out there. Some of them sound like they're from the galaxy. Some of them sound like, I don't know. You can find different ones and just find something that appeals to you, but it allows your energy, something that agrees with your energy, so that your energy can just kind of flow. It feels like it's at peace or at calm. And then you kind of notice it's just this, this harmonious feeling if you can get to that point. Your body is there. You can feel it, but you don't really feel it. So it's almost like it's there, but it's kind of numb, So that's when, I feel like I have just almost my body has just kind of disappeared. So, you're paying attention, but at the same time, you're enjoying this ride. So but there's this focus. So here's the opportunity to focus on or entertain the thoughts that you would like to develop into manifestation. So, what is it? What is the thought? If you have a house in mind, go through this house in your mind. What does this house look like in your mind? Is this house brick? Is it wood? Is it cedar siding? Does it have a fireplace? Does it have a chimney? Is it a gas fireplace? Does it have a basement, a full basement? Is it finished? How many levels is it? Is it all on one floor? Do you have bad knees? So these are the things that you want to think about. And if something like a house is something that you're interested in, or that's your dream object or whatever, and feed your mind with things that will help your imagination flourish, such as like the HGTV channels. They're always taking old houses, remodeling them, things like that. So, and then, to expand your mind, because let's say you don't necessarily know what you want. So take advantage of the internet. There's so many images on the internet, so many pictures. You can just type in words under Google Images and you'd be surprised at some of the stuff, and then you would be surprised. But we're going to stay positive here. So you can find all kinds of, rich imagery that can help you enliven your picture, your image of what it is that you want. And so the key here, the real key is not only are you creating this image, but it's the feeling that is going to accompany this image, okay? So you're not going to spend any time, like I said, we don't spend any time worrying, doubting, fretting, living in fear. We don't fear, we're not afraid of the future, and we're not going to be held prisoner of the past through pain, okay? So you have to release all the baggage. As I was saying before, the timing is now. The timing is now for you to, you're in a position now where you can release anything that you want to release. We are in this age of Aquarius. I was spending a lot of time on why, the duality, why man has to have the two-prong effort to create, whereas God, of course, is one sovereign creative being, and it falls above the veil, so to speak, or the abyss, depending on which path you're on. So, the first three universal laws, the all is mine, correspondence, and vibration, applies to everything. It even applies to God. And then everything underneath number 3, under vibration, begins pertaining to the individuated soul, and then man as well. So, we start with duality. God is not subject to duality because those vibrations can't survive at God's level. So while we are subject to duality, which is good and evil, okay, or everything having its opposite, because that's where it comes from. There is no devil. There's nothing outside of yourself. It's just that at this level, at the individuated soul level, everything that is God has now we can recognize it. Okay, so in us, it's separated. There is good, there is evil. If you want to use the word evil, there's good, there's adversity, whatever you want to call it. But the choice is ours. The choice is ours. We have the ability to create right here on earth. That is our purpose. That is our blessing, okay? We have the power to create from God, and we have the playground to which we can create. Only problem is we've been programmed with negative thoughts and feelings. And now it is our individual responsibility to recognize it and make the necessary changes. And we can receive spiritual help, but we still have to make the change ourselves. Ultimately, it's our responsibility. So this is who we are. This is what we're capable of. And, according to Bruce Lipton, we got some work to do with the subconscious programming, because that's what's holding us back, which, of course, and I think June Distel also mentioned 0 through 7, the same thing as Bruce Lipton mentioned, but 0 through 7 is that age where children are programmed, okay? So for the stuff that didn't come in your DNA, we have some new programming for you, and it's negative. And now, now you have to combat this. And you don't understand why you have the life that you do, and it's because of how you were wired after the fact. So that's what we need to take into consideration here. Okay, so that's our intentional thinking. Attach all kinds of words and images to it, like this is your own canvas, okay? This is your own motion picture. How beautiful do you want it to be? Okay, it is up to you. The choice is yours, and that's what you have to stay cognizant of. You have the power. I have the power. Now, if someone else have the power, that's because we gave it to them. So please bear that in mind. Everything that you and I need, we already possess. Everything else we can manifest. All right, so the intentional thought, the words, the imagery, the feeling. The feeling is what we're really trying to program here, because we can change our thoughts like this. We can change our mind, change our thoughts. We can change our thoughts. It takes repetition to change the way we feel. So when we are intentionally thinking about our house or whatever it is, in my case, the bamboo farm, but whatever it is that we desire, that we wish to attract, that we want to experience in our life, okay, because that's what we're doing here, then we have to attach a feeling to it. So remember last week I was talking, it was like, you may want to be a millionaire, but then you may feel a certain type of way about money. Your family might feel a certain type of way about money, or people who have money, okay? And if that is the case, if you can recognize that, then you have to work through that. So you may see yourself as a very wealthy person with plenty of philanthropic projects where you help people all across the world, okay? So, and what you are doing in this case is you are the star of this show, and you're also rewriting the program in your mind. If the program in your mind thinks that, all rich people, money is the root of all evil, this, that, and the third, then you, by creating this new scenario, this new dynamic, this new imagery in your mind, you are taking control. You are becoming the authority. No, this is people who have an abundance, who have wealth. They are also very generous. They also help people, and I'm sure you can think of some. Oprah Winfrey comes to mind for me, but they also help people. They're also generous. Now, once you give this some thought, you'll understand. You cannot save everyone. Actually, you cannot save anyone who doesn't want to be saved, okay? So you can be generous in helping people. You can feed them. You can teach them how to fish so they can feed themselves. But, you cannot impose your benevolence on anyone, okay? So don't impose your will on anyone else. You are open and, harmoniously receptive to helping anyone who wishes to receive the help, so to speak. Okay, so the feelings, you want to attach the feelings to them, and you are going to have to replay this storyline, if you will, over and over again. Play it in the morning. Play it at night. If you find yourself bored, this is what you think about. Think about building your kingdom, your empire, not by stepping on other people, but by providing a service or a product, something that will help make other lives easier. And we have to entertain these thoughts. The big takeaway is practice, 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 which you've heard 1,000 times already. So practice, practice, practice. in order to change the way we think, in order to change the way we feel, in order to change the reality that we manifest, it will take effort and practice. Let's see. Okay, so I had another thought. I was going over the universal laws, and of course, all is mind. The universe is mental, and it had to do with the elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. And of course, so this is just me meditating, kind of freestyle meditating. So the thoughts that came to mind when I was thinking about all is mind. I need a sip of water. So that the all is mind, the universe is mental, is that all of the elements kind of attaches to a body part, like the macro and the micro again. And just some weird thoughts that the earth was feet, the water was the heart, because water is often expressed as an emotion, or it represents emotion, the flow of emotions, water, which is why, of course, in the age of Aquarius, there is an outpouring of emotion from the water bearer. Air is the tongue, which makes sense, speaking, blah, 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 mouth, throat, tongue. Fire is the head, which is the spark of God, the spark of life, consciousness, and then ether, which is basically the super consciousness, or just the one sovereign God, if you will, the source from which everything comes. So ether would be like the intelligence inside. Okay. And then the thought was our state of the world, our current state of the world, and how all of our elements, so to speak, are really under attack. The earth, water, air for sure. I mean, fire, fire basically is burning down our forests. And then the ether, basically our energy, our karma, to be quite honest, in this case, and how it's all up in turmoil now. We have the pandemic, we have social and civic unrest, we have our economy is tanked. Capitalism, I saw a meme and it says racism is America's virus. Well, capitalism isn't far from it, okay? Because it feeds off of people. There's so many classes on the psychology of consumer behavior, and hardly that much effort goes into mental health or mental healing. And I'm about to digress, but hey, it's the last 5 minutes. Bear with me. Just like the whole, I have thoughts about the whole, police department thing, blah, blah, blah. I feel like all police officers should undergo psychiatric evaluation. I feel like that the whole department should be shut down, and it should be more like the Office of Public Safety and Service, with a big mental health and counseling component, because we're not trying to heal anyone. It's a part of the capitalistic society that isn't working. The prison industrial complex, it's not working. We're treating, people are being used for different things. They're just being used. They're part of the process. There is no value of human life. You know, we take juveniles, we try them as an adults, we throw away the key when we do release them. Of course, they're going back in because there was no rehabilitation to begin with, no reconciliation, no. Listen, we've got to put human life ahead of money and anything else that doesn't have any real value. Celebrity crap. Okay. All right, so I got the message about communication. We must change our language. There used to be a subject in school called language arts. I don't know if it's still called that anymore, but it used to mean something. And Cadabra translate into I create what I speak. Or make it happen, Captain. Thoughts, language, feelings, these are all critical components to manifestation, to manifesting our reality, to transformation. We have to have a male energy and a female energy. And once they are attracted to each other, they transform into an experience or some form of physical reality. And it sounds simple, and it is a law, so it does work, and yet we struggle with it because we don't know who we are. We don't know that we're powerful creators, that this earth, this physical platform that we are occupying right now is actually our blank canvas. It's our canvas to create using our power to create. We need to focus on the beauty of creating, the beauty of being. We're supposed to take our gifts, attract what we want. We receive our gifts, we integrate our gifts, and we express our gifts. Our gifts are bestowals from God, whatever God has blessed us with. Whether it's a talent for speaking or sports or writing or connecting with people or seeing something, hearing something, sensing something. We are all unique, but no one in particular is special. Now, we glorify each other, we celebrate each other, but in the eyes of God, we all have the same beautiful potential. So, anywho. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am getting to the end of the show. So intentional thinking, intentional feeling is intentional living. Remember, thought plus feeling equal experience. You can do it intentionally or you can be manipulated by someone else or some other energy or entities. We need to change our language, change the way we communicate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all that I have for today. Thank you for listening to One4ALLisLove. And I will see you or talk to you next Wednesday, June 24th. Enjoy your week. Stay safe. I love you, and goodbye.